I think another piece is looking at, obviously, the data. Being at my first school as principal in Ontario Montclair, Ontario Montclair is the second largest CATE district in the state of California. So we had outstanding staff in the district office who actually were in charge of collecting data and then distributing it to principals. We weren't at the place yet of them, meaning the district office, actually sitting down with principals one-on-one and going over that. That came later down the road. But for my school, it was pretty easy because I was at the lowest performing school. When I took over, our test scores was, I think we were at 252 out of 1,000. That was pretty bad. So
you did say 252.
252.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the principal who had been there, she was loved. She was very knowledgeable. I met her. But she kind of did a program, what they called the flavor of the month, and there was never any follow-through. And so people were all over the place. And there was no real direct teaching content. And the biggest issue was at that site, there was no ELD instruction going on. Because teachers had the understanding that I use English all day, therefore I'm teaching ELD all day. And unfortunately, there was a division between the bilingual versus non-bilingual teachers. So what helped me was I had data. I could say to teachers, okay, let's sit down and in our grade levels, let's look at the data and see what we can discover. And they really had not had any educational training on how to look at data. So we had to start at step one. They had to understand the terminology. They had to understand how to read a report. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we started. And then we took that information and thought, let's identify one common ground we can all implement. At the same time of doing that, I realized that we really had to get a strong ELD program going. And so I created staff development to actually provide at my site because that was our biggest issue. Students couldn't perform on tests because they couldn't read the test.
And the teachers didn't know what to do about it.
And the teachers didn't know what to do about it. And interesting, I had teachers at that site who had come from Colombia. Their Spanish was beautiful. Their English fluency was really good, their understanding. But we had an issue with such strong accents in trying to teach in English that the English learning or the English speaking child couldn't understand. And so because they couldn't understand the accent of the teacher, so it was real interesting, the dynamics of what we needed to look at critically and make sure kids received content that was understandable. So I think the data was the bottom line of proof for me to the teachers. Whether we like it or not, our students are being judged by these tests. Teachers at some point may be judged by these tests. Therefore, the kids have 1 year to do one grade. We have got to raise those standards and help them to achieve because the data is saying they're not. So we did crazy things. I did things like saying to the kids, okay, we have to do better on this test. So what are we going to do? And crazy things came up like, we want you to have blue hair. Okay, I can have blue hair. So that was a challenge. And I was lucky that our Senator Soto, who lived in our community, became a partner of mine. And she provided some resources like a limousine to take kids to the Rainforest Cafe and have a lunch for very high performers and their teachers. So we did creative things like this. We had assemblies where we did the rah, 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 played music, we learned the songs, we changed the words about learning and made it a fun opportunity for kids. It's about learning, but we're going to have fun while we did it. And our test scores went up.
And you ended up with blue hair.
I ended up with blue hair. I ended up sitting on top of the school with the fire department for a week. I ended up doing a lot of crazy things, but it was one of the best experiences of my life.